Forget what you think you know and remember who you are. The greatest thing you could do for your ancestors is remember who you are, right? For some, you are the ancestor that is reincarnated into this physicality, right? And as a soul, sometimes you come down with two missions. Now, not everybody's a reincarnated ancestor, but you all have the DNA of your ancestors inside of you. Now, as a soul, sometimes you come down with two missions, and that's one is to help the collective of the earth, which helps the united grid of consciousness, and then the number two is to help restructure the DNA or the lineage by finishing what the ancestors did in their time cycles. So not only do you have the information and the memories waiting to be unlocked in the DNA, but also this is pieces of soul essence that were lost when we fell in frequency, adding to this current part of your soul. So you're talking about being able to recollect the memory of your higher aspects of your soul, because it gets streamed or processed through the pineal gland. But we lost access to that connection because we don't have access to the 12-stranded DNA code. So this is they're talking about basically how we put the caps or the telomeres. We put caps on the end of the telomeres of our chromosomes, of the 46 chromosomes of our DNA or of our genes, and basically we're beings that come from prime source creator before the creation of our universe. When you talk about the North Star and this 369, that is the Earth. That is the encapsulation of the full totality of the dimensions and frequency of the earth, the sun, the moon, and a certain level of the stars, the astral plane, and different things like that, and these different planes. But all these different planes are a part of the earth, the 9 cycles. And this is what I'm getting at when you're talking about Osiris and the same thing. So basically what we're doing is we would choose to incarnate into the physical space to have a dense experience, because pressure is what builds this character. It's what builds you up. It structures you up. It's what gives you the ability to, when you're at the lowest or the most dense place, to become the strongest being in terms of when you enter new time cycles. So basically, or new cycles or circles of duration of time, or beyond time, just cycles or circles of duration of energy. So a prime example of this would be like Osiris being the lord of the cycles in the underworld, but he also has the Ankh, and the Ankh is represents the masculine and feminine union. Also, when you're talking about his counterpart, which is Isis, then in Horus, this is a trinity or a triad, and it's the same thing when you're talking about Ptah in Memphis, the god of creation and architecture from Memphis, Egypt. So why is it that they have multiple creator gods in one religion? It's because you understand that in the cycles of time, the god that was at the lowest level reaches the highest point of existence. So this is what happens is Osiris becomes the he goes from being the just the underworld deity to understanding he encapsulates the whole realms of the ethers of the mental plane, being lord of the cycles of 9. So and Tahuti explains this in because Tahuti deals with the waveform, but Tahuti explains this in the Halls of Amenti and explains this in the Emerald Tablets. And I do a lot of research on these guys, because this is the Netru when we talk about the connection between all these beings. But in Heliopolis, Osiris was a part of the 9 Ennead or gods of creation, but he also later on became that representation of that highest entity or deity of this time, or that time, or whatever time we were in. You know what I'm saying? Just for example, like when we say who was Osiris is Saturn. Now he's being the representation of the oldest deity, or the sun in the previous cycle. So now this sun in this cycle would be who? Jupiter. You feel me? And then it keeps on going and going and going. So it's not that he's one planet. Osiris has many different aspects. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to get people to see how these aspects work. So when you're talking about us as human beings, this is the same thing that's happening to us. Is we might have came into creation as divided, like Set and Osiris, like Set cutting up Osiris pieces, But we understand we came in divided to be ultimately create an even better version of ourselves. You feel me? By using these aspects of ourselves are still going to go back into the larger aspects of us. And we utilize this information to create from a different perspective or standpoint or point of view or feeling. And because we went through that experience, we've known what it's like to be at the bottom and to be in a dense matter state. We know what it's like to be in a state of confusion and illusion of division. And you see how you could take these conflicting forces and bring balance. And I talk about this a lot, but I say this because this is what consciousness is connectivity, and understanding how you connect it to everything. And this will start to give you bring things back to your Akash, which is the library inside of your mind. And you understand your mind deals with the files that deal with the energy that's connected to the DNA and connected to these light strands that they like to call all these different names, but they're really just light. Everything is light. So like sperm, all that shit is liquid light. So your plasma and these different substances that's created through light and through electromagnetism. So you're talking about cycles or circles of duration when it comes to us and our ancestors, and how our ancestors are not really dead. I want y'all to really get this. Our ancestors are not dead. Our ancestors are alive. We're the ones that we're not dead, but we're in a physical reality where it's more dense than even them. So you understand that they're waiting on the other side, communicating with us, trying to get us to, you feel me? You feel me? To help finish this journey, this task of the things that we have to do. I'm sorry, y'all. And you know, this is ultimately what's going on. Is this is why you would get communication from these ancestor spirits. So when people come and they try to bash the ancestors, they have to remember these ancestors are you. So this is also for my folks who are indoctrinated or into Christianity, and also into many different other religions and different things like that. You got to understand that they're all talking about the same beings, just in different formats. And that, your ancestors will always be a part of your lineage, and you need to understand how to learn from your ancestors. But you're also helping your ancestors because your ancestors are a part of you. Because you'll understand when you get back to the totality of things, that soul that you have had to originate from a higher essence of itself, and not just be that piece of soul that's in the body, even if it's the illusion that's in the body and it's actually the opposite. But you get what I'm saying. So this is ultimately what's happening when you're talking about the ancestors. You don't even need to go and just sit there and just think, okay, yes, if you feel called to give them an offering, give them an offering. But most of the time they want to know how you work on the inner development, the inside, and deal with them on the internal, and deal with them in the feminine aspect, because they're talking about internally. We're talking about the mind. And you'll start to see that a lot of us are connected through this mind. And you got your own mind, you have larger minds, collective consciousness, all these different things. But when we're talking about lineage, we're really referring to how the mind creates DNA. And anything above that would be something of a soul factor, not even soul factor, I'm sorry, something of less undifferentiated, I can't talk, but I'm sorry, y'all. Where the light is not divided, where everything is more of a unification of energy, and understanding that when we go beyond these stars and these other beings that are in these other realms, you know that it's an essence of us that is nothing but light itself. So that's what I'm getting at. So the ancestors are never evil, and we're gonna talk some more about the ancestors, because we really need to understand who we are, and this is why I keep talking about who we are. And you get into who we are more than getting caught up into what God you think is this and what God you think is that. Less on what God and more on you. Less on what you think the God is and more what the God was talking to you about. Less on Jesus and what was Jesus teaching you. You feel me? It's all plain and simple.